Hey guys, it's Jared here from OzPitmasters and HowLowCanYouSlow.com, and today I am super excited to share with you this how-to guide on how to dry age your own steaks at home with Umaidry. This video is going to take you through the process, and then in the next video we're going to reverse sear some of these incredible steaks, and I'll show you how to do that as well. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to choose ourselves a nice full steak muscle. This is called a sub-primal, like this New York strip that I have here. When dry aging, we're going to have some wastage, so we aren't going to want to do this with just a single steak, otherwise there wouldn't really be anything left. To make sure that this dry age turns out really amazing like we want it to, we're going to use these Umaidry dry aging steak bags. These bags are amazing and allow a one-way transfer of oxygen, so moisture can leave the bag, but air can't enter the bag. Because we're going to be aging this for a while, we're going to want to move this piece of meat from the bag that it came in into our Umaidry bag so we can prevent the spread of any bacteria as much as we can. Now, there likely will be some blood or liquid left in the bag when you transfer it. This is totally fine. That liquid is going to help our Umaidry bag to really adhere to the meat and create a really nice bond that we're looking for. Now, in order to seal this bag up and get a nice dry age process going, we're going to use a vacuum sealer. You can pick these up for pretty cheap. I think I got mine for about 30 bucks. And it's important to note that these dry aging bags aren't the same as a typical vacuum sealer bag. So we're going to want to be gentle with them, and we are going to want to do a couple of things differently. We're going to go ahead and start by wiping down the rim of the bag before we seal it so that none of the liquid gets in the way of our seal. And because we have quite a large bag, what we're going to be doing is we're going to avoid doing a single straight seal over the total mouth of the bag. And instead we're going to start by doing a diagonal seal and then finishing off with a straight seal. And I'll show you what we're going to do with that. So we're going to start with this diagonal seal. We're going to want to make sure we're leaving about a 2 to 3 inch space on one side of that diagonal seal. This is going to give us a nice strong seal, and it's going to reduce the possibility of our seals busting. Once we have our first seal done, we're going to move the bag about a 1/4 inch and do another one. This is just for an extra line of security by doing 2 seals on that line. So now we have our bag about 3/4 sealed. We're going to go ahead and slip this little white vac mouse seal in that open portion. These seals, they come with the Umaidry bags, and they make it really easy for you to get a good vacuum seal. Once inserted into that space, we're going to go ahead and do another double seal on that space. Now, while the vacuum is doing its job, we're going to go ahead and push any of the air in the bag towards that vac mouse seal. Don't worry if you've got some ridges in the plastic. We're really just looking for at least 80% contact between the bag and the meat itself. Once you have that bag sealed up, we're going to go ahead and transfer it into our fridge. You definitely want to place this on a wire rack so that we can ensure we're getting some really good airflow all the way around the meat while it's aging. How long you want to age your meat for is definitely going to be a decision that you want to think about before going in. If you're unfamiliar with dry aged meat, you might want to stick closer to the 30-day mark. For this one, I've gone for the 40 days. And after all that patience, we get this. Now, to be honest, dry aged meat doesn't really look all that appealing on the outside. But what it lacks in looks, it really makes up for in personality. Over the last 40 days, this meat has been losing moisture, which is concentrating its beefy flavor and creating that really interesting and complex dry aged flavor. Now, taking this beef out after 40 days, we see a definite change in the color and in the texture on the outside of the meat. Now, this outside crust which is formed is really waxy and it's super dry. When you cut it, it can almost crunch as it goes through. We definitely want to generously trim this off before we're going to cook these steaks. You're definitely going to end up with some significant offcuts by the end of this, but it is totally worth it. Don't be afraid to really generously remove that crust. It is really hard, it's not going to taste any good, so you might as well cut it off. You can see when we've cut into the steak that the interior is still this really vibrant and bright red color. Over the last 40 days, the enzymes in the meat have been breaking it down and tenderizing it. You can go ahead and cut your meat into steaks and then trim it like I did here with this first one, or you can go ahead and trim the crust off the whole muscle at one time. I also utilized this trim to take back some of the super thick fat that I have on the top of these steaks. Fat is definitely a huge part of the flavor that we want with a good steak, but in some spots the fat was really just way too thick for it to have any possibility of rendering out, so I trimmed it back to about 1/4 of an inch, as much as possible across the whole steak. Now by the end of this trimming session, we can go ahead and cut out our individual steaks. I figured I'd cut me the kind of steaks that I would want to eat, so I made them about 1.5 inches to 2 inches thick. You want to try and keep the thickness as uniform as possible so that our steaks will cook evenly. In the end, I finished up with 9 incredible New York strip steaks that I am seriously excited to cook up. Now I'll be giving these steaks the reverse sear treatment, so keep an eye out for the next video and we'll go through that from start to finish. If you want to make some of these awesome dry aged steaks for yourself at home, but don't want to spend a ton of money on a dedicated dry aging box, I highly recommend you go out and grab some of these dry aging bags from Umaidry and give them a go. You will definitely not be disappointed. You can head across to their website umaidry.com and get them sent right out to you. And for the full breakdown of this process, you can head across to my website howlowcanyouSlow.com. There's a link in the bio, and that's going to take you through this whole process from start to finish. So keep an eye out for the next video where we're going to reverse sear some of these steaks and smoke on.